Here we go. Okay. Okay. Welcome to Torah in 10. We are learning in the merit of a refuah shalema. My dear friend who is actually at the hospital at an appointment right now. That's why she's not here on the class. So all our learning should be in the merit of a refuah shalema for Rochel Bas Batya and a continued refuah shalema for Genendel Bas Leah. And for anyone else who you have in mind, our learning should go towards their merit as well. Okay, so we're learning from Rabbi Jonathan Sacks of blessed memory from his book, and it's Parshas Miketz. So what's Rabbi Sacks' life-changing idea? He says like this: what can be healed is not holy. God does not want us to accept poverty and pain, but to cure them. Rabbi Sacks says that for Jews, holiness lies not in the way the world is, but in the way it ought to be. You see, when God created the world, he could have created everyone rich, everyone healthy, everyone complete, with no lack at all. But Hashem didn't do that. And the question is, why? Everyone asks this question. I'm sure you've all heard it many times, or even asked the question yourself. Why do bad things happen to good people? The greats of the Jewish people in history asked the same question. Avraham Avinu asked God, shall the judge of all the earth not do justice? Moshe asks, why have you done evil to these people? And Jeremiah says, God, I know you win every argument, but I still want to know, why do the wicked prosper and the righteous suffer? Each one asks God the same question. Why is there suffering in the world? We are not alone in our question.
You're going to apply the 25 to dinner? You can't?
Sorry, guys, just mute if you can. Thank you. Oh, hold on. Hi, Amanda. So we're not alone in this question, and I believe this question is at the very heart of Judaism. The answer that I've been sharing ever since I heard it was actually from Elie Wiesel, but I heard the same message recently from Rabbi Sacks of blessed memory. People asked Elie Wiesel over the years, why did the Holocaust happen? And for years, he answered, I don't know. I have no answer. People continued to ask him, and then one day he said to them, I know the answer. I can tell you why the Holocaust happens, but if I tell you, you'll become a Nazi. Elie Wiesel explained, imagine if I were to give you a rational reason for the Holocaust. I gave you a reason that made sense for the murder of 1.5 million children and 6 million others, and my argument satisfied you, it made sense to you, and you understood it. You would be reconciled with it. Because Hitler convinced people with rational answers that made sense to them to commit genocide, if I were able to do this to you, then you would become a Nazi. This is what Elie Wiesel said. Rabbi Sacks echoed the same words, but he told it through the eyes of the Klausenberger Rebbe, Rabbi Yechizkel Halberstam, who I mentioned to you in last week's Parsha class. The Klausenberger Rebbe lost his wife and 11 children in the Holocaust. And he vowed while in Auschwitz, if he were to survive, he would dedicate his whole life to the preservation of life itself for whoever needs it, Muslims, Christians, Jews. And how did he do that? By building a hospital in Israel. In his holy words, I want to read you this. He said, I was saved from the gas chambers, saved from Hitler. I spent several years in Nazi death camps. Besides the fact that they murdered my wife and 11 children, my mother, my sister, my brother, my whole family, some 150 people. I was the only one who survived. I witnessed their cruelty. I remember as if it were today how they shot me in the arm. I was afraid to go to the Nazi infirmary. Though there were doctors there, I knew that if I went in, I would never come out alive. Despite my fear of the Nazis, I plucked a leaf from a tree and stuck it on my wound to staunch the bleeding. Then I cut a branch and tied it around the wound to hold it in place. With God's help, it healed in 3 days. Then I promised myself that if with God's help I got well and got out of here, away from these wicked people, I would build a hospital in Eretz Yisrael where every human being would be cared for with dignity. And the basis of that hospital would be that the doctors and nurses would believe that there is a God in this world, and that when they treat a patient, they are fulfilling the greatest mitzvah in the Torah. After the Holocaust, someone asked the Klausenberger, after everything you've gone through, do you have questions for God? And he answered, yes, I have questions, deep questions. But I know that if I were to ask them of God, he would invite me up to heaven to give me the answers himself. I prefer to be down here with the questions than up there with the answers. Ladies, I've said this before, but it's so worth repeating. It's not our job to understand why bad things happen to good people. It's our job to help, to stand up for injustice, to never be satisfied when bad things happen to good people. Personally, I have never been satisfied with the status quo, with the world that is. Rather, I have focused my whole life to challenge the world that is for the world that could be, that can be, when we work together, joining with God as his partners in creation. For my whole life, I have been in awe of Jews around the world. Within our uniqueness, in our beliefs and our practices is a remarkable common thread that cannot be ignored. Everywhere we look, Jews are at the forefront of making the world a better place. Everyone knows at the head of every ism that has ever been, communism, socialism, environmentalism, feminism, Jews are at the forefront. This is who we are. We see a problem and we try and find a solution. Who in our Torah do we learn this from? Go, 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 Joseph. Egypt has a problem. A famine is about to hit. He diagnoses it, and then he makes a plan, with himself in charge, of course. Joseph doesn't throw his hands up in the air and says, there's nothing we can do about it. He recognizes that things don't have to be that way. There's something we can do about it. And his decision, his faith in himself and in God, ends up saving Egypt, his family, and the whole world. Joseph laid the groundwork for us. He doesn't see it as a fate to be endured, but as a problem to be solved. What can be changed doesn't need to be endured. Rabbi Sacks teaches us, human suffering is not a fate to be borne, but a challenge to be overcome. I know we're up to the challenge. That's Torah in 10. Thank you.
Thank you.